Good morning. Thanks so much for joining in the trade setup right here on BloombergQuint Live. It's a flattish kind of a start that we anticipate for our markets today, and a flattish day possibly, though you never know these days. Indian markets have a lot of exciting days. But I must tell you, if you just look at what the world market's up to, excuse me, okay, if you just look at what the world markets are up to, it's a very interesting thing that has happened. So first the cues, and then I have a chart to explain my point. First, the US markets ended with mild gains, and the futures are flat ahead of the August jobs report. So that tells you a story of what the before and after for our markets as things stand are. Wedged in between that are the Asian and the SGX Nifty, which probably indicate a start which is mixed to flattish, and the SGX Nifty 2 indicates a start which is, well, flattish start, maybe with a hint of a positive bias. The key is volatility seems to have come off in the US markets in particular as well, but even back home as well. We are up at 14 odd levels. But if you just look at the CBOE VIX, if you just look at how there's this chart which suggests how, or which shows how VIX is at its lowest level since the pandemic began. Can you, I mean, just think of it. This is it. This is it, right? The CBOE VIX index. And as you can see, it's now climbed down to the levels that it has been now for the last, what, 2 or 3 odd months. Yes, we've seen these occasional spikes, but it's back to those 15, 14 levels. So the lowest levels is the start of the pandemic, and which is quite a thing. Typically, high volatility results in, of course, volatility, but typically higher VIX is associated with maybe some bit of a corrective move too. For now, we are not looking at any such thing. So maybe that's not bad news. So that's the first thing that I wanted to say when it comes to how the markets could be trading or shaping up ahead of. Now, the market breadth yesterday positive, all of that is okay. The trade setup for the day, I would believe that yesterday's intraday rally suggests that the uptrend is still intact. Now, are we at a higher risk than a reward ratio? For sure. I mean, does it investing gains are great, and yes, go out and invest for all the times that people have said that this market is going to correct. It has not. And investors who stayed invested or even bought into promising stories, the money creation has been quite fabulous. But I do think that now the risk reward is starting to become a bit unfavorable. So please do hedge your leverage bets if you are taking large leverage bets. But the intraday rally does indicate a further uptrend. I think commodity stocks, including upstream, may do well, led by the dollar weakness. We've largely seen the dollar index being stable to marginally lower. Crude yesterday inched up as well. Uh, yes, iron ore, etc., might have some issues, and therefore you might want to be careful about an NMDC despite the monthly numbers. But largely, I believe that for today's session, maybe some of the commodity stocks could do well. So be mindful of that. From what I heard, from local dealer desks, for not global dealer desks, is some bit of activity or action being now seen in the building material stocks yet again. Not that they have not been active. I mean, the Asian Paints and the Supreme Industries and the Astrals have been active, but the last 2 or 3 sessions, real estate has been bang on. And while that may continue to do well, the building material stocks actually come back into the limelight. There's a lot of flow into a lot of those names, tiles, what have you. So be mindful of that. Those are names that you might want to focus on. In fact, stocks that you would want to focus on, I'm moving on very early. It's a quiet kind of a day. So maybe not too many trending moves, thematic per se, but individual stocks would be in focus. HTFC Life naturally so remains in focus because they're going to consider, of course, it's known that they're going to consider and approve the issue of equity shares or other securities of the company by way of preferential allotment. And the key is, viewers, that they have kept the con call or the analyst call at 9:15. I would believe, therefore, that the announcements will come in pre-market. So maybe you won't get a chance to trade this, but do watch out for HTFC Live. Could be interesting to monitor in the session today. Then JustStyle was up and active yesterday because of the UBS upgrade. Now, yeah, last night the release came in that Reliance Industries now has sole control of JustStyle, or complete control of JustStyle. So that is one more shot in the arm, if you will, for JustStyle. Not that this was expected to be anything otherwise. And by the way, not that if Reliance takes control, then the stocks tend to do well immediately. We know with the TV18 history, HFCL, the Aloks of the world, that the stocks tend to move with a bit of a lag as well. You never know. You can't time all of these things. But the fact that Reliance now has complete control of a tech-first platform that they wanted to in their arsenal, and for the tech-first platform, which maybe hasn't quite done as well as some of the others have, it could be interesting times ahead. Do watch out. Do read the UBS note if you get a chance to lay your hands on. Yeah, it was released yesterday when they upgraded the stock. So do watch out for JustStyle in the session today. Maybe it could continue its momentum. That's the point I'm trying to make. Granules, they've received the license from DRDO to manufacture COVID-19 drug. It could be used as adjunct therapy in moderate to severe COVID-19 patients. Just the number of companies who now have the ability and the permissions to launch COVID therapies is quite good. Hopefully, if there is a severe third wave, if there is, there won't be a shortage of medication, at least the way we've seen the last time in some sense. So I hope that doesn't happen. Nevertheless, Granules remains a stock in focus. IRB Infra, they've emerged as a preferred bidder for an 844 crore bid that they put in for a highway project. It's not a very large one, but since infra names are moving thick and fast, just thought we'll bring it to your notice. Railtel is interesting. For the size, it's pretty interesting for Railtel. They've received a contract from the Directorate of IT of IAF, Indian Air Force, for implementation of a secure OPS network for a value of 299 crores. Viewers, I urge you all to take a look at all the recent defense ordering that has happened. A bunch of Indian companies like Zen Technologies, I think yesterday or day before, gave out a release of some order book moving up. The stock has been locked on a lower upper circuit for 2 days in a row. Now the circuit has been revised. I'll get to that. But you know, that's a tiny tune. What I'm referring to is the large ones, the BELs of the world, which have consistently gotten orders, or a Bharat Forge, which says that we are very upbeat about the defense order book. Whether some of it is in the listed entity, you know, is a separate thing altogether. You might want to look at what's happening within defense. I think it's turning out to be a pretty strong ordering scenario for the defense companies in the recent few months. I seem to have spoken about a defense name almost every third day in the trade setup, which is why just something that you might want to keep an eye out for. Some other key things, so you know, trading tweaks that have happened, some delivery percentages, etc., that I want to bring out. So one, the price band has been revised. Zen Technologies, I was talking about it, from 20% to 10%. What has moved into the short-term ASM framework are HLE Glass Coat as well as Make Money Fine Chem. It was pretty curious how a particular person kept on messaging me, oh, this one now has a fifth upper circuit, sixth upper circuit. And typically these things scare me. It moves into short-term ASM framework. In fact, for a lot of good companies moving into short-term ASM framework, you should celebrate that, because the stock price movement gets disrupted. If you want to buy, you get to buy it at a lower price or a moderate price. I'm not suggesting one way or the other for these two. I haven't looked at them at all. All I'm saying is FIEM, which supplies to Ola Electric. Remember, I was on a one-way upper move and then came into ASM. The stock came off a bit and then went up 2 days on a trot once it got out of ASM. So, you know, some interesting and curious things happen for select stocks. So that is one. Some delivery percentages and higher delivery percentages as well as gains. So stocks which moved up on very high deliveries yesterday: Fine Organic 7%, 54% mark for delivery. Trident is just another level. The stock up another 5%. You know, some textile stocks tend to do well. This one is right up there, 52% mark for delivery yet again. If you just look at the 6-month price or 1-year price of Trident, you will get to know what I'm trying to talk about. Gujarat Ambuja exports 4.5% up. The maize exports, I reckon, but 50% mark for delivery. Work hard. I think the promoters selling. Remember, I was talking about this yesterday, that the promoters had sold A lot of dealers said that the promoter selling is now over and Wockhardt could start making a move. I have no idea about it again. It's a very volatile and choppy stock, but do watch out for this one. And Happiest Minds did what it did best, which is move up 40% mark for delivery. It's such an expensive mid-cap IT name, but just continues to do well. A leader of sorts in digital, and that really augurs well for it. Net viewers, a quiet day of trade with some bottom-up activity anticipated, as would be the case. To watch out for HTFC Life in particular. That is a big one as well. And before we wrap up, the two brokerage calls that I thought stood out for me in the session today. One of them is Dr. Reddy's. The rating from Morgan Stanley is overweight with a target price of 585. This comes on the back of one more brokerage raising the Dr. Reddy's target price day before yesterday. Now, Morgan Stanley is saying they expect niche new launches and operating leverage to drive margin recovery. And they believe that Revlimid Canada launch appears to be a mid-sized opportunity as well, which should validate supply chain for potential US launch in 2022. Now, that could be a big thing. So do watch out for Dr. Reddy's in the session today. Morgan Stanley overweight might have a reaction. So that is the first one. And the other one is real estate. CLSA has come out with a note on Suntech Realty. They are rating it a buy with the target price raised to 470. Again, a target price raise that has happened. They're planning to launch the Suntech Forex World at Vasant and Thane project this weekend ahead of the expectations of a festive season launch, which could be big, right? Festive season launches, mid-sized markets could actually do really well. So let's see. Based on channel checks, CLSA believes that this will garner a strong response because of the affordable ticket sizes and the demand for quality housing with better amenities. They increase the FY22 pre-sale estimates to 6% due to the early launch. So this could be pretty interesting as well. A particular project launch, but a large one which propels or which prompts CLSA to raise the target on Suntech Realty. So that's the other name that could do well. Or at least if it does well, you know why. There is a CLSA note and a launch that they have done ahead of, or a launch that they will do ahead of schedule, which could be leading to Suntech Realty doing well. Well, those are a few names. Thanks so much for tuning in, viewers. Have a good weekend. If you're stepping out, please stay masked up. And to all our Jain friends at the start of Paryushan, wishing you all Amit Shami Dukla.